We gon' run it, hit the field, blast off, watch them all fall. This is AFC North talk. Got me hype, it's about to be a touchdown. Got the Ravens, Steelers, Bengals, and the Browns. Are you listening? It's time to get it hype. Tune in when the season poppin'. Yeah, we going live. Hey, knock 'em out. Ay, first down, going hard. Yes, indeed. AFC North talk. Let's go. Hey, AFC North talk.
Welcome everybody to AFC North Talk. Here we are, Game Pack Show. So we're gonna get it started real quick. First half of the show, or whatever, however it gets cut, is gonna be the recap, and then we're gonna do the preview of the following week. So let's get this started here real quick. Aces are gonna be joining us soon on the audio only. Steelers Ravens. Jerry, I know you love that game. You love that game. I, like you, thought the +6 was huge, right? I thought the +6. I said that's like 6. When is this happening? That is +6. The Steelers have beat the Ravens twice by 7. This game for me started. The Steelers offense was humming, and it was because what Russ was doing. He was very decisive. Not open, run. He was basically 2-read Russ. Not open, run. Not open, run. Right, and that was very effective. I think the Ravens were not ready for Russ to be running as much as he was doing early in the game. And then in that one play, he got a little, he thought he can do a little more than he should have, which is, to be fair to Russ, unusual. Russ is a guy since forever. Somebody gets near him, he slides. I don't know why he thought he could just take it all, and then Adarius take the fumble. After that, the Steelers' offense completely changed. Like, did a 180. They had some success running with the running backs, but Russ in itself changed. So I would like for you to allude to that, and then I can talk a little bit how the Ravens attacked the team.
Yeah, I mean, the game finished, the Ravens win by 17. I don't think the final score is quite indicative of how close the game was because
the pick six. Yeah.
Right. Like there was 2 plays that really were deciding factor in the game. The Russ fumble that you talked about. So I mean, the game's tied at 7 at that point, and the Steelers, if he decides to slide, more than likely they take a 14-7 lead, and that could the outcome there. Puts a little bit too much dip on his chip, decides to kind of dive for the goal line rather than just go down. And I get it. You're a competitor. You think that you can get there. He just made a 30-some yard scramble. So I get it. Hindsight 2020, he should have slid. But I understand. From a competitor standpoint, hey, it's 1-on-1. You try to get the touchdown. I get it. But then the Ravens turn around, march down the field, take a 14-7 lead, and that was kind of what ended up being a big momentum swing. The Steelers bounced back though. They had 2 touchdowns. By the way, they may as well just change their logo to a black and yellow falcon, because Michael Pruitt and Cordero Patterson were the 2 touchdown scorers. So that was
dog. I saw Michael Pruitt score a touchdown. I'm like, ain't no way he's still here, bro. What, dog? I watched him play in college. And also, I know what happened to Russ. He was in there listening to Tom Brady in that headset. Tom Brady was like, "Oh, it looks like vintage Russ out there.
Say that.
He's really cooking. He's looking like that guy right now. He's got that movement. This looks like 2019." And then Russ was like, "Yeah, it is 2019. Let me show you."
And look, like I said, credit to Russ, because he, outside of the 2 really bad plays, he played well in the game, but the 2 bad plays were backbreakers. Because he had a really nice throw to Calvin Austin that went for, I think, 40. It was a nice little toe tap. Which, by the way, I talked a lot on my own personal channel throughout the offseason, and there's a lot of people that were like, "Oh, Calvin Austin's going to be a big factor this season." It's I don't know how big a factor Calvin Austin's going to be. He's completely proved me wrong. He's had a really nice year as a reliable number 2. Yeah, he's proven himself as a viable receiver in the offense. Not an elite player by any means, but a solid. He fills his role very well. So I've been happy to see him have the season that he's had. Overall, though, like this is the first time this season that Jalen Warren has outtouched Najee Harris. It took Arthur Smith 16 weeks to realize that, oh yeah, Jalen Warren's kind of good. Which, I mean, whatever, better late than never, I guess. And Najee's had a really nice collection of games this year. But once they saw, okay, Jalen Warren's getting big yardage every time he gets the ball, that seemed to be the way to go. And like I said, like they had the offense, despite the turnovers, like even after the Russ fumble, I thought they responded well. And I think the defense, like this is the second straight performance where the defense, I understand that there's guys that are injured. It's week 16. Everybody's banged up around the league. Like, I don't want to hear that excuse when TJ Watt was still playing. Alex Highsmith, who had a really nice game. Cam Hayward was still playing. Derrick Henry had 7 explosive runs. That's the most by any running back against any team this year.
Fucking around in this one.
Had 160 yards on the ground. They could not. The Steelers couldn't tackle again. Like, missed tackles have been a problem for this team all year, and it's been really frustrating to watch. So for I know that the takeaway from this game was, oh man, 2 really boneheaded decisions by Russ, but the defense didn't really do him any favors. And the one time that they did was the Minkah interception, and then obviously that kind of got overlooked because 2 plays later, Marlon Humphrey had a pick 6. So it was frustrating to watch because of the lack of tackling, and just it felt like they could have won that game, which might be why like I'm not like too frustrated here, because I know I just pointed out like the whole injury thing, but Deshaun Elliott, George Pickens, everybody that was injured. Tomlin said they have a real good chance of playing against the Chiefs on Christmas. Pickens is practicing, Deshaun Elliott's practicing, so and they're still 10-5, and they're going to be a playoff team. So if they were to face Baltimore again in the playoffs, I think it would be a much closer game, and I think it would be a back and forth type of thing. So it looks like it feels like almost Sharpie in at this point that the Steelers and or Ravens are either going to play each other in the wild card round or they're going to play the Texans, which, okay, that's fine. I think that whoever would play the Texans, I think that Baltimore and Pittsburgh would both win that game personally. And then it would just come down to, depending on seeding, what the next matchup would be. But now you gotta worry about the Chiefs on Christmas. Again, Pickens is practicing. Looks like he's going to play. I thought he was going to play against Baltimore. I'm surprised that he didn't. But him practicing now, that gives me a better feeling of that he'll play against the Chiefs. Deshaun Elliott coming back will be big because we saw multiple times in this game where the touchdown pass to Rashad Bateman, Corey Trice bit on the Isaiah Likely curl route. He jumped up. That left Demonte Casey, who didn't get over quick enough, and Rashad Bateman ran the corner route, and Lamar threw a nice touchdown pass. So it's just like miscommunication stuff. And then Casey got completely lost from the Mark Andrews touchdown. Like if you watch the all 22 of that, like they ran a motion cross and they're trying to communicate, okay, what are they going to do in terms of assignments there? Demonte Casey got completely lost. So yeah, not having Deshaun Elliott out there was pretty big, and that showed on multiple touchdowns. Joey Porter was not playing because of the calf. So, all of that stuff taking place really hurt them. And yeah, the depth for the Steelers, I think, was kind of the biggest thing defensively, again, because then you got to turn to James Pierre, Corey Trice, who made a nice splash play at the beginning of the year against Denver, but didn't really come to play against Baltimore. So lots of cleanup on the depth side of things, but still feel like the team could win a playoff game. Again, the injury stuff, I understand that that's an issue, but it's stuff they got to clean up on the defensive side of the ball for sure.
One thing that I would add, I do agree with something that you said. I think this is more, people will be, I saw people roasting a little bit at Russ. I actually thought Russ had a really strong game overall, and the big thing, the pick 6, obviously people are going to assume into that. The fumble.
Yeah, it was a bad throw.
Yeah. I mean, I think Lamar Jackson's throw, that interception Lamar threw was worse. I understand he was hoping Bateman kept going on the drag route and Bateman stopped. But I mean, I think Minkah hasn't had that's probably one of his easiest interceptions for Minkah. Regardless,
you don't trust Rashad Bateman versus Minkah like that, though. Like that's the thing. Like that Lamar knows is like, all right, yeah, I get that you're trying to trust your guy and get to him, but like, yeah, it's Minkah, dog, and that's Rashad Bateman. Like, I'm gonna bet on somebody to make a mistake. It's probably gonna be Rashad. And look, a lot of quarterbacks make that mistake where they're like, oh no, I'm just gonna trust pedestrian wide receiver number 12 to kind of make a play here, and it's like you threw this shit right to Minka though.
You threw it right to Minka.
And bro, when that happened, I felt like, all right, this is the whole turning point now.
I thought we were gonna get the wacky Lamar stuff, right? Where it's like, all right, here he goes. He's gonna like fumble.
Exactly, because Derrick Henry just had like a long run that got him into the red zone, and then then that happened. It was like, all right, they each got a bad red zone turnover. Now you can go down and tie the game. If you get a stop, you can maybe get a boss field goal and get out of here with the division win. And then the
2 plays later,
pick six. Yes,
but what I was gonna say is, it looked to me that the defense was keying on Lamar Jackson not running. There was a play where Lamar Jackson and you can see, the Steelers like to play a little bit that wide line. On the bookends, right? On the edge. There was a couple plays, not on the necessary zone reads, even on play action. The edge rusher, the free rusher was not even looking at the running back. He went straight to Lamar. Lamar would give it to Henry. And now Henry had just like a gigantic hole. You see, the problem here was I'm trying to think, but I think this is probably one of the easiest games for at least as Henry as a Raven that he has had, where the holes were just monumental. That front was not there. And what it looked to me when I went back and watched a little bit of the tape was they were just keying on Lamar. They were so scared of Lamar keeping the ball and running that they just going straight to Lamar. And again, I'm not even talking necessarily on the read, on the zone read, right? Or on the RPOs. I'm literally talking even on play action. They were going to Lamar, and Lamar was giving it to Henry. I said last week, Henry didn't have a big week. I said, like, he didn't have a whole lot of carries. It felt for me that they were saving him for this particular game versus the Steelers, versus just having him running all over the place against the Giants. It was a strong performance. The score definitely is wider than how the game played. Right. The pick six definitely brought that momentum completely on the other side. Felt like that was the nail in the coffin. Patrick Queen, the linebacking core, did not have a strong game. Especially when Henry was running all over the place, it was hard, right? You won the shot. Look, I love Deshaun Elliott. I hate that he's a Steelers. Love him when we drafted him as a 5th-round pick out of Texas, because even though he's not the biggest guy, he's a very tough hitter. And when he's in the secondary, I'm not saying he will stop Henry, but he will not make some of the business decisions that I was surprised that Patrick Queen made when Henry was on the secondary. Henry barely pushed Patrick Queen. Patrick was like, dog, go. I'm not even going to try. You go. Anyway, the Ravens, very strong performance. I thought the Steelers played well. Defensively is the thing. This team started very, very strong defensively, and it looks how they have been tapered down. I understand Joey Porter left in this game somewhat early, and Deshaun Elliott wasn't there, right? But the big player you're missing is on the offensive side, right? The defense still had T.J. Watt, right? They still have Cam Hayward. They still have Highsmith. By the way, Highsmith had a
big game. Yeah.
Like Stanley was struggling with Highsmith versus Rosengarten had a very strong game against T.J. Watt, because T.J. Watt usually wrecks us. But in the case of Highsmith was having a strong game. The pressure was coming on the left side. But I'm saying, like, most of your defensive starters were there, right? And especially the big guys, the big name guys. And still, Minka had the pick, but still that defense, in my opinion, was giving too many yards to Henry and to the guys. Anyway, Q, Ace, any words so we can move to the next game?
Yeah, this one, like, I don't know. I've been pretty consistent. I think Pittsburgh's going to be able to win a playoff game here. This one makes me ask questions about, like, the margin of error that Pittsburgh can get away with, because, like, I'm making assumptions on their ability to win a playoff game based on, like, how good I think that defense can be down the stretch. And I do worry about them in a matchup actually against, like, the Houston Texans, because if sometimes the Steelers pass rush is able to get there, but sometimes there've been more than one game this season where we're talking about a right tackle and what a great job they did against TJ Watt, right? Like, we did the same thing with Jack Conklin, who's not been having, like, the greatest season of all time, but he's decent, right? And my big fear for Pittsburgh would be, hey, if you give CJ Stroud time to see it, he's going to kill you, right? Like, especially if you don't have corners that can kind of blanket the field. In Pittsburgh, we don't know how healthy they're going to be. They basically got 2 versions of James Pierre starting on both sides, right? Like, they brought out Trice, and the way I was talking about, like, oh, I'm getting James Pierre flashbacks, man. Like,
and look, I have, and so internally they got high hopes for Corey Trice because he's shown a lot of potential, and like I said, he had a really nice start to the season. But the thing that kills me with the Steelers, and I don't want to spend, I know we want to move on here, but the best way to help out, a secondary that's ailing a little bit is send pressure, make quarterbacks a little bit indecisive. The Steelers don't blitz. Like, they are one of the lowest blitzing teams in the NFL. They're only sending 4 a lot of the time. So I got a lot of questions about Terrell Austin as well. I don't know if that's the guy for the job. Even if they want to, like usually I'm kind of against the Steelers going like in-house to make a promotion, but Aaron Curry, the linebackers coach, has done a really nice job over the past couple of years. I wouldn't mind seeing him become the defensive coordinator, and it's really hard because you had Brian Flores on the staff, and then you let him walk because he had Terrell fucking Austin. So it's pretty annoying.
Yeah, Terrell goated Austin. Goated Austin.
Yes.
Ace. Any final?
I don't know if Q got to finish his point.
Oh yeah, Q. Sorry.
Ahead, Q.
Oh yeah, my main point is like Pittsburgh's offensive success. Like they did show that they can have some success without George Pickens, right? That they're not just going to be a completely trash offense without George. They can move the ball a little bit. You get a good Najee Harris game, you could do something with that. My big thing with them is like, is the offense good enough and the defense good enough to have a high enough margin of error to be successful after we get past the regular season, or when you're playing these playoff quality teams? The last 2 weeks haven't been super encouraging, but George Pickens makes a huge difference in that, right? And I can't act like that's going to be the case in the playoffs. He's probably going to be healthy. We'll see how George comes back from that hamstring, because it might be one of them things like, oh, George got the hamstring. He didn't look the same after that. So we'll see how they look like. But yeah, if I'm the Steelers, like, until you get full confidence that George Pickens is going to be able to be George Pickens, I would be a little bit concerned about like what they could do in the playoffs, given that George is kind of, I think he allows you to have a little bit wider margin of error that would put you above a team like the Texans, who I think also have similar problems.
Yeah, I feel the same way, man. George Pickens, I kind of talked about it the last couple of weeks, them not having him in this offense. I don't think that it's a shocker or a coincidence that now this team went from, it scoring in the 20s and 30s to 17 and back in the teens, because George Pickens is that good of a player. So them not having him in this game, I just felt like once the Ravens got rolling, they just couldn't keep up. And then you guys kind of talked about it. The pick six, that was pretty much the death kiss there. With them doing that, they tried to get some momentum, and then once they did that, that killed all of the momentum. But I got to give some flowers, because I was criticizing the Ravens before this game. I got to give flowers to them. They were able to step up in this game. This was an important game for them to get back in the divisional race. They were able to do that. Lamar Jackson was able to make plays when they needed them to. And at what started as a close game, after the pick six kind of got out of hand, and then they essentially just comfortably won it. And that's what I kind of expected this game. Now, I think if George Pickens was there, maybe it's a little bit of a different game scoring-wise, but that's what I kind of expected to see this year, like a far cry from the traditional, under 30 kind of take the under on this game kind of game, just because these two teams have been pretty explosive on offense this season. I mean, just playing with the Bengals, obviously our defense sucks, but this was offenses that both were able to score about 40 when they needed to, essentially. So seeing it this way, I think that the Ravens, you needed that vote of confidence. You needed to be able to get over the mental hurdle of, can we beat Pittsburgh? And you were at home, so you had to win this game, because if you can't beat the Steelers at home, that's just going to be in your mind the whole time, especially if there's a chance that you guys end up meeting each other in the playoffs. So I think they were able to do what they needed to do in this one. Ravens took care of business. Derrick Henry was just amazing in this one. I was surprised that he looked that good against the Steelers' run defense. But if you're the Steelers, you don't have George Pickens. So, try to figure out a way to get him back on the field. Don't rush him so you don't end up aggravating that hamstring, so you have him for the playoffs. But I think that you're going to have to find other options. And where the hell is Mike Williams at, dog? Why did we trade? If I'm a Steelers fan, I'm like, why did we trade for this guy if Van Jefferson is going to have more stats than him? It doesn't make sense. If Calvin Austin, we like Calvin Austin, right? But
They
this is
traded
Mike
for
Williams,
him to
dog.
warm up Ben Skoranek to get the most out of him.
Hey,
That's why
Yeah,
hey,
this is
they
hey.
traded for him to get Ben Skoranek ready, so he knows that there's competition, so he steps it up in practice.
Hey, it worked. Ben Skoranek had a big catch in this game.
like, bro, Mike Williams, where are you? Like, we're looking for you, bro. You're almost on a milk carton at this point. Like, you should be the number. Now I get it. He's getting there late. Maybe he doesn't know all of the offense and everything.
Bro, it's been like
Dog,
2 months. I'm tired of hearing that excuse. Like, come on
No,
now.
dog, he runs 3 routes. Like, we know what Mike Williams does. He don't have to learn the
dog,
offense.
do something. Operation Mike Williams. Do
There are wide
something,
receivers
dog.
at Tennessee that run more routes than Mike Williams. Like,
He could literally be in the huddle and Russ can just look at him and be like, Mike, 9.
I'm
All
just
right.
gonna throw it up.
9,
I'm just
switch
gonna throw it
release,
up, dog.
post. There it is. That's the Mike Williams route tree.
Red zone
Sometimes
shot,
turn around, look for
something.
that motherfucker. Right? Like,
Give us something, Mike Williams. If I'm a Steelers fan, I would be pissed, bro. With Mike Williams.
The Mike Williams route tree is very tall with no branches.
it's not a route tree, it's a roof. That's what it is.
The route tree is just like a tree stump. There's not much.
It's a
there.
roof with a chimney on it. That's what it is. And that's it right there. Like maybe a satellite dish peeking out. Like,
when they brought Mike, I thought they were gonna use him more in the red zone, right? And there was one play in the red zone. Maybe it was the play where he fumbled. Maybe I'm not sure, but I saw Mike Williams coming. I didn't even see him much coming in.
I'm pretty sure he had. I want to say he had at least a catch in this game. I remember saying Mike Williams' name at least once.
He usually is good for
I don't know
catches.
if that's Mike Williams or if that's Miles Boykin, bro. I can't tell. That is how that
hey, now okay, we gotta move on. That's disrespectful.
At least Mike Williams was good.
Mike Williams got 3 catches. I couldn't remember.
Yeah, I was gonna say. I thought
don't ask
his
Raven
name.
fans. There was a point where Miles Boykin was like the best thing on God's green earth.
He was a great blocker, though. He was a great blocker, great special teamer. Anyway,
great preseason player too.
2-2. Okay, we
Speaking
have
of preseason. Let's talk about the Browns and the starting DTR this week.
Jesus.
We're moving that. Let me go to super chats and then we're gonna go there. Jared, my brother, I told you we're gonna split this series. Still glad you're here though. I'm conflicted too, though. I both want y'all and Casey to lose, so a tie, please, will be great.
Yeah, I mean the Steelers will control their own destiny here. I mean, if they win the next 2 games, they're chilling, but it's going to be difficult.
Noah Stone says Tom is really still the Steelers' kryptonite.
I was thinking about that during the game. Keep Tom Brady the fuck out of the booth for Steelers games.
He did curse Russ too. Like he put the voodoo on Russ because he just kept talking about how good he is and this Steelers defense. It always gave me problems, which is just an asshole comment coming from Tom.
That comment, I remember that
like
comment.
Roethlisberger talking about how difficult it was playing Cleveland. Like, shut up.
You know what that comment reminded me, Garrett, when you said, I don't really hate the Browns and the Bengals that much. That was the type of comment that like.
No, when Steeler fans hit you with I want the Browns to be good because the rivalry should mean something. Go fuck yourself. Like that is the worst. No, or Ohio State fans got enough of that, right? Because they was doing that to Michigan for like the last 10 years. Now they don't want that no more, right? Now the rivalry don't matter. But that's where it hurts. And Tom Brady.
Tom Brady loves the Steelers for the exact reasons that we all know he does.
I just admire Mike Tomlin. Yeah, I bet you do.
I bet you do. You always kick his ass.
Okay, play on the review here says Russ had the fumble and my wife, Steelers fan, said, I'm not doing this today.
It was I was so distraught because I was like, all right, Russ, and then as soon as
I was sitting there like, dog, he's like, are they gonna be like good? Because he looked like Russ. And I was like, all right, cool, we back.
But after that fumble, everything changed. Everything changed for him. Grifflo here says, was TJ even playing Saturday? That's y'all defensive player of the year?
I mean, I would say Trey Hendrickson's defensive player of the year right now, personally.
Hey, that's kind of crazy that the Bengals could have the defensive player of the year and the offensive player of the year and definitely not go make the playoffs. That is Chargers level crazy.
I hate the Titans right now, bro. How they did that, like, stop playing with my emotions like that, dog.
Speaking of the Titans, we had Kenny Pickett and Mason Rudolph both threw touchdown passes yesterday for different teams. So we were a Mitch Trubisky touchdown away from the 2023 Steelers quarterback room hat trick.
Ray right here says this felt like at least the 5th game where you can say the Browns offense and special teams shot the team in the foot when the defense kept giving you a chance to be in the game and possibly win.
Bro, the Browns, like, it felt like at times the Browns were like, hey, we could have won this game, but we don't want to. Like, that's what it felt like. Like, it was just like, what are we doing, dog? Like, every time we get to the goal line, let's get a false start, you know? Like, let's fumble. Let's fumble right now. Like, give all the momentum to the Cincinnati Bengals. And then let's shut them down for like 2 quarters and do nothing. Like,
Q, did you hear like as they were bringing in the game, like they were like just doing like the intro stuff, and they're like, the Cincinnati Bengals fighting for a playoff spot, and then they're like, and Dorian Thompson-Robinson trying to prove that he can be the future of the Browns, and I'm like, okay, yeah, sure,
yeah, all right,
sure.
buddy, yeah. Like, I was like, that's not even what he's in there for.
Like Spiriditas, I get you have a job to do, but let's calm it down a little bit.
I'm like, the Browns are trying to figure out, hey man, how much RPO stuff can we add to this offense because Jameis can't run it.
The Browns are trying to figure out how they can come up on that number 1 spot, bro, because there is no reason.
I was watching that game. I was like, this is a team preparing to draft Jalen Milroe somewhere. Like, straight up. They ran like 5 quarterback keepers with DTR. Look, the Browns aren't good. They make mistakes like this. They get in their own way. They shoot themselves in their own foot, right? Like, the Browns the game should have definitely been at least 17-17 with 2 minutes left to go, because the Browns had the interception in the red zone that should have just been a field goal attempt. They had the missed extra point, that's 4 points, and then the touchdown that they absolutely should have scored. But no, Devontae Foreman, who's been begging for an opportunity all year, gets his opportunity, fumbles the ball on the goal line. Great job. And then, like, just cherry on top, man. You force the Bengals to be like on the 2-inch line, and what do? First play, let's get a fall. Let's jump in the neutral zone, baby. Like, let's give them a 5 free-yard start and let Joe Burrow go downhill and let them get comfortable, because that's going to end super well. Look, the Browns defense played fine in this game. The Browns offense had moments where they moved the ball well. Like, there was a time where I'm like, oh, they might actually come back and put a threat to Cincinnati to win this game. And they just couldn't complete any of those opportunities. And that's really what this team has been this year. I think Kevin had the quote on Hard Knocks. I think it's a pretty accurate quote. Hey, man, we play hard. We just fuck ourselves. Like, that's what we do. That's what we doing right now. Like, we just keep doing that to ourselves. And that's what they continue to do. And that's just going to be what this season is. Now, we'll see where the Browns end up draft pick wise. They'll be in the top 10 for sure. Likely in the top 5. I don't see them winning a game after this performance, right? Like, this got to be all right, bro, we stink kind of performance here. They're putting DTR in, not to see if he's the future, just to see what RPO stuff looks like. I mean, that's peak, hey, man, season's over type stuff right there, right? So we'll see what the Browns do next week versus Miami. We could preview that one real quick, just get that one out the way. Probably gonna lose. The Miami Dolphins have an actual quarterback. Like, they're probably going to win. We're not going to put up that many points because we just don't do that, right? Jameis could get in there. He might throw some interceptions. We have a lot of things to figure out, mainly on the offensive side of the ball, mainly when it comes to things that surround the quarterback position. I don't want to put it all on DTR because I don't think it was all on DTR. Jerome Ford did have a good game in this one. But, hey, man, Jermaine Ifedi got clapped today, bro. Like, oh my God, it was immediate on site, just straight, like 2-step turn. Like you ever watch Myles Garrett's tape at Texas A&M, Jared?
What was that, like 2016? That would have been 2017. Oh, yeah. Goodness gracious, it's been a minute, but yeah, he was. Yeah. There's a reason he went number 1. Yeah, well, like, it would be like a joke where it's like, count the offensive tackles' feet. How many feet do they get in before they turn? 1, 2, turn, right? That was Jermaine Ifedi. He was 1-step turn guy all game. Just, like, there go Trey Hendrickson. And then we tried to doing the old Ole to
yeah. And I was like, good God, Jameis Winston is masking a lot with his pocket presence there, right? Because then you put somebody else in there, you just start to notice how bad the left tackle situation has been. Like, it's this bad where I'm like, man, how much is Dan Moore going to command in free agency? Because, like, dude, it would be better.
He's going to get paid.
It would be significantly better than what we have right now. So yeah, that's where we're at. It's not a great spot. Ooh, gee, what happened? Why am I getting repeated on the stream?
You hear echo?
Yeah, like it's loud too.
Yeah, that sounded like the ghost of Christmas past.
You still hear it?
But not a great spot for the Browns to be in. But we'll see what happens going forward. Yeah, it's just, DTR is not the guy, but nobody really came into it with real belief that dude was gonna be the guy, right? Like, it was just like, all right, let's give him a week, since everybody's been saying he hasn't got a week of prep. Let's give him a week of prep versus a bad passing defense, see what he does. And he looked bad. He probably made the Bengals get a lot of confidence going into this game. Like, if Bo Nix tears them up for 400 yards, that's it for DTR, bro. Like, I'm good. Rookie Bo Nix out here tearing up that defense, but we can't do nothing about it. Nah, dog. I'm out.
I mean, the Chargers showed that all you got to do is sitting too high, and Bo Nix will just throw 1 yard down. I mean, you're chilling.
It was bad, man.
Ace, what is your thought of this game?
Yeah, I think that the Browns are starting DTR to find their quarterback of the future. It's just not DTR. It's they're trying to figure out who they're drafting in the top 5 of the draft, especially now with the Raiders throwing a curveball, making everybody 3-12 at this point. Look, man, it was clear to me that Jameis kind of gave them the best chance to win. DTR, he's a developmental quarterback. It kind of the writing was kind of on the wall on this one. It's kind of like waving the white flag coming into this one. Like, all right, we're gonna see what it is. I know what that looks like. Bengals did that with Ryan Finley. Like, it's clear when you have a guy.
Whoa. We gonna have some respect for White Vic right here.
Vic,
all right, like White Vic did that thing to the Steelers.
You guys remember the Corvette game, but what you don't remember is when we put him in for Andy Dalton because we were straight up just trying to get Joe Burrow.
Yeah, that was a good move.
That was a good idea.
And
it seems to have worked out.
I know what that looks like. So when I saw DTR, I'm like, okay, I know what they're doing here. Because they know that the Bengals defense is that bad that Jameis might have some luck here and there, and it may not guarantee the L. So DTR, man, it's obvious that he's not the guy. I think like Quincy said, Jerome Ford had a good game. Started off the game really good. Huge momentum swing there with the fumble at the 1 yard line. I actually thought that the Bengals were getting ready to kind of bungle that situation because the play before they have to call timeout because they got too many guys on the field. And I'm like, why did we just waste the timeout on the 1 yard line? Because these guys are about to walk in for the score. And then, of course, Deontay Foreman does what he does. Good play there by Von Bell. Joe Burrow, man, I think Bengals fans we've seen, and it's kind of confusing, like 2 first halves where the Bengals offense is just on fire. They're doing their thing, making scores and stuff like that. And then when they come out in the second half, they just immediately stall. And Cleveland did some things defensively that just kind of stalled them. Like, Joe Burrow goes in, the first half he's on fire. Guys are making plays here and there. Jamar Chase, T. Higgins, Chase Brown. And you're assuming that that's going to continue in the second half, but it really didn't. It just came to a grinding halt in this one. And like Quincy said, there was a point in this game where you felt like, man, the Browns might be able to come back in this one. Fortunately for the Bengals defense stood tall. I don't think it was hard to do against DTR. So I think that was a little bit of fool's gold. At one point in this game, these guys were like fighting over a DTR possible interception at one point.
Yeah. When your DB broke up a interception for your linebacker.
Like Geno Stone and like
Jermaine Pratt
over who gets the interception until neither of them got it. I think it was a flag on the play anyway. It was a flag on the play by a Bengals defender, but that was just the type of game that it was. The defense stepped up. Offense, the one thing I will say is once Amarius Mims went down, that line was cooked. It was like they could not stop any of the Browns defenders, whether it was Michael Hall, whether it was, obviously you're never going to stop Myles Garrett, but it was like the floodgates were just open after Amarius Mims went down. So that's something that you got to keep in mind and take a look at, because this was a game where people thought Orlando Brown Jr. could come back. I'm of the mindset like Orlando Brown Jr.'s not coming back unless the Bengals get this little 20% chance of getting to the playoffs in. So I'm expecting to see Cody Ford, but Dennis Cochran or whatever, like that just was not a comfortable situation to have Joe Burrow in. It disrupted the offense. The one thing I'll say though is the Bengals definitely have a running back in Chase Brown. This is, I think, the third or fourth game in a row with 100 yards from scrimmage for him. He was explosive in this game. It was frustrating because he was doing his thing, and then Zach Taylor was just like, "I'm gonna Zach Taylor masterclass and just stop running the football." And I'm like, "Dude, this dude is running for 7 yards per carry. Your offense is struggling. Joe Burrow's just under siege every play. Run the ball." And he finally started to do that towards the end, but there was a serious time frame where he was just not running the ball, and it's like Chase Brown was balling. But outside of that, you saw what you needed to see from the offense. Defensively, they looked better, but how much of that was that it's just DTR? Like I said, I think there's some fool's gold there, because it's not like DTR was doing things that really put too much pressure on them. And this was a game where I actually took the over on Jared Judy, or told people to take the over on Jared Judy with the 60 yards. And because of
Oh, I could have
DTR,
told
that
you
did
that
not
wasn't
happen.
gonna happen. Yeah, that wasn't going. He don't throw the ball downfield. Like he's
He,
scared to throw the. You saw it. He double clutched so many times where he had open Jerry Judy down the field, and he refused to throw it because he's scared to throw downfield. Like that's his big. Chip Kelly done scared the confidence out that boy, and he ain't never got it back. Like he is terrified to make a mistake. Every time he makes a mistake, you can just see it in his face. You're like, oh, here we go, bro. Like it's about to come all crashing down. So. Yeah, like the composure with him is the biggest thing that I can't deal with, because it's like it just, when one thing goes wrong, it all goes wrong with him, and you can't work with that.
yeah,
Like,
yeah. So I mean, I think DTR helped the Bengals defense out, gave them some confidence. Hopefully, it's not false confidence because they got Denver this week. We'll see how that goes. I think they got a good shot there. But the biggest thing for me out of this game was just, Joe Burrow continuing to play well. This has always been a tough defense for him to play well against. So I was just happy to see him leave this one without an interception. He did have the horrible fumble. That was a horrible fumble, by the way. Like people, like, look, I'm a Joe Burrow fan. I'm obviously a Bengals fan. I don't. But the one thing you guys always hear me bring up are the turnovers, and that was just egregious. That turnover that he had with the fumble, that was a bad one.
oh, the end zone.
Yeah, in the end zone, like it completely took them out of any kind of points whatsoever. And it's like at that point, dog, just go down. We know, like these tackles suck, this and that. You just can't make an extra play out of that when it's not there, and that ended up costing the Bengals from a scoring standpoint. But you win
And
this
like
one.
McGuire beat him so quickly off the ball that I was like, oh, he's just gonna go down, right? Like he's just gonna
Yep.
he gonna do one of them Peyton Manning, like he got me. Like, kick
Yep.
the field goal. And then he just was like, nah, I'm gonna roll around it. I was like, why would you try to do that at this point in the game? Like it's over if you get points.
Yeah, like it's over. So that was a bad mistake there. But Bengals won this one 24-6. They got a big game coming up here against the Broncos, but like you guys mentioned, it's not just that game. But I think that's where their focus shifts. And I know that we're short on time, so I'll just give my take for that game. I think the Bengals try to get out of there with a victory. I think it kind of leans their way just because it's at home. I think if this one was in Denver, I'd be more inclined to say like Denver's going to do it. But I've seen this Bengals offense against really great teams and great defenses, including some in this division, just really at some points look unstoppable. But they have to be consistent, right? And that's what it's going to take. And I think it's just from them to make a stop here and there. That's all I need, because the offense is going to have to carry this team. I'm not dependent on the defense. If they can trick Bo Nix once or twice, I think that they can get out of there with a victory.
The one thing about the game, right, is the Broncos are coming from that mini bye, right? So they're a little bit more rested. I don't know what to think about the Broncos. Like, they came out strong as the Chargers. I'm like, damn, I don't remember the Broncos being this good on offense. And then the second half happened, and it's like they forgot how to play. And the Chargers started doing their thing, right? So during the scripted part, that first 15, they came in and everything worked. And then nothing worked for the Broncos.
They got devil magic working on their side, man. Because I'll be watching the Broncos. I'm like, they don't use none of the players like how we would like them to use them. But sometimes it just be working. Like, I'm like, Troy Franklin be out there giving more reps than like Marvin Mills. I'm like, I guess. Like, I guess that's what they see. But then Marvin Mills touched the ball one time, and you're like, oh, he's really good. He just got explosive down the field. And you're like, nah, they're not going to use it the rest of the game. But they be winning. And it's like,
Yeah. It is the one thing with the Broncos is defensively they're still strong. Even though the Chargers put points at the second half, defensively they're still strong. They do rush the passer. If Mims cannot play, that could be problematic, right? For the Bengals. How they can protect Joe Burrow. That would be the key. How they can protect Joe Burrow. Joe Burrow has time. I think Joe Burrow and Chase and T will create points. Will create mismatch. Gesicki also. Like offensively, the Bengals have enough, power, even on the running game with Chase Brown. The question here is, can the O-line hold? Because the Broncos do bring a strong pass rush defense. That would be the main thing. On the other side, look, I understand the Bengals defense is not great. Definitely the DTR, they have to thank the Browns for that because it's a good confidence booster. And the thing with Bo is if Bo has pressure, he tends to fold quickly, right? Like this happens with a lot of young guys, a lot of rookie quarterbacks. He tends to bail out of the pocket. It starts running, right? So the question here is, are the Bengals ready to, if Bo is running, to not allow a lot of yards, right? Bring him down quickly. Those are all keys to this game. And the Bengals can protect Joe Burrow and contain Bo out of the pocket. I think the Bengals win. If not, if Joe Burrow's here getting hit play after play, well, not only you got to lose.
Ace, what's the status on T. Higgins? I know he had an ankle injury leaving Cleveland.
He came back into the game, so I don't foresee him missing the Denver game. And Amarius Mims as well said he was quoted as saying that he's not missing the Denver game, but we'll see. But I think T. Higgins, being that he returned to the game, I think that means he's going to play. Now, if he would have stayed out, then I think he would have missed this one.
Because it looked like a high ankle sprain when I saw it.
Yeah. Okay, Q, what do you think of this game?
Yeah, I think the Bengals should win this one. Like they have the better quarterback, but like I think it's gonna come down to how well Denver's defense plays. I don't know what to think of Denver, man. Like I had no read on them one way or the other. Like I've been able to see, like, okay, they play the Ravens. Their defense doesn't stand up to the test. I don't think if their defense didn't stay up to the test against Baltimore, it's probably not going to stand up to the test.
Or Cleveland, for that matter, by the way.
Yeah. And look, Joe Burrow not going to be afraid to throw, right? Like I think that's the big thing. Is like, how afraid are you to test Pat Surtain, like in some of these other things that they have there? And Joe Burrow going to throw to Jamar Chase no matter who's covering him. And Joe Burrow's been playing some excellent football outside like a couple mistakes he made in Cleveland. Like, he was cooking in that game early, especially like where he made that bullshit. He was down, by the way. I saw a picture with the ball in his hand and it's down on the ground. But after the game,
hold on, Q.
He was down.
He got knocked by his own lineman. So that's why people are like, it doesn't matter if he was that. He technically wasn't down because he got hit by
down. We know why he got knocked down. Like, no, he was down.
He got knocked down by his own offensive lineman.
No. Somebody touched him. Somebody breathed on him. He was down. But either way, makes the throw on the ground. Cool stuff there. He's going to be locked in playoff mode. This is also a young Denver team, and they're going to be facing a Bengals team in playoff mode. And this is a Bengals team that, like, we don't think about them like this, but they're very experienced. They've been in 2 playoff runs, Super Bowl run. They're going to be ready for this moment. The question is if Denver's going to be ready for this moment. I don't think Denver's going to know what really hit them, right? Like, I think this is going to be a game where Cincinnati looks pretty good, and people are like getting ready for their narratives of, oh man, if Cincinnati would have just got that tiebreaker, right? Like, get ready for those articles that drop. It's going to be interesting too, because I think that last game is going to end up mattering now for Pittsburgh, right? Cincinnati versus Pittsburgh. So we'll see how the NFL schedules that, right? Because like it depends on if the
that's getting flexed.
Yeah, that's gonna be the 4:00 game, because I'm thinking like what result matters more, because if the Ravens beat the Browns, don't they clinch the division? If they have the same record, I think it would depend on if the Steelers beat the Bengals.
Yes. So if for some reason if the Steelers lose and the Ravens win, the Ravens don't clinch. It still has to happen the following week. But I think what's gonna happen is they're gonna put the Colts. If the Colts and Miami also win this week, the Colts, Miami, and the Bengals win this week, right? I can see them putting the Broncos, the Colts, Miami, and the Bengals all 4 games in the 4 o'clock game. Right? Because if they put any of these early and one of them wins over the Bengals, then the Bengals doesn't matter. Right? The Bengals need all those 3 teams to lose for them to
is I don't have to see Bailey Zapp start a game with Tony Romo on the call. I'm good on that, bro. I don't need that. Right? Like
by the way, Q, you've heard of Britt Baker DMD. Well, on Sunday, I'm calling Joe Burrow BBB because I think they're beating the dog piss out of the Broncos. Like,
wow, this is the 3rd one. Like he's hit on these too. Like that's the thing. Like Jared Bailey's kind of broken the BBB curse,
and one of them was a Broncos game earlier this year where I said the Ravens were gonna just beat the hell out of them, and they did.
Anytime you hate Bo Nix. Say it. You hate Bo Nix.
I don't hate Bo Nix. I hate Broncos fans this year because every year, Robert May said every year there's at least one fan base who can't be normal about their quarterback, and this year it's been Denver. So I don't want them to have nice things. So I think that anytime the Broncos have played good teams this year, I think they've kind of come down to earth a little bit, and I fully expect that.
Bronco fans have dethroned the Baker fans, right? Like when they were
maybe a little bit.
When Browns fans were all like super irrational about that whole. I think I put a post up where I was like, I've been right about Baker Mayfield for like half a decade, but I always get yelled at about it because I'm like not high enough on him or not low enough on him. But I'm like, he's Jay Cutler if he cared about football. Like that's the answer to that question. What is Jay Cutler if he cared? He's Baker Mayfield. Like that's it. Like right there. Like that's what he is. But like if you don't say he's Brett Favre, they get mad at you. And like exactly, he's like better than Gardner Minshew. Like there's certain people who like get pissed off at you too. Like it's just what it is, man.
So yeah, I think that Cincinnati wins big, and then if the Browns beat Miami, then they'll be doing Cincinnati a favor too.
We have a couple super chats, and then we're gonna go with the Browns.
We are losing against Miami if that's the case, buddy. We secure a better draft pick.
Listen, bro,
and we get the Bengals. Yeah, dog.
Hey. The thing is, Q. This game is in Cleveland, and the Dolphins don't play well in cold. I'm just saying.
Guess what, dog? You know who else don't play well in cold? UCLA Spiders. Let's put them out there again. What you talking about, dog?
Oh man. Okay, a couple of super chats, and then we're gonna go to this Browns game. I give the Raptors credit. This is from the 188 for finally playing well enough to get a win against Pittsburgh. I want everyone healthy so we can do it a 3rd time. Then we had Noah who says Marlowe won Ravens both Cincinnati games, the Bucks plus the Steelers. Look, he will get a couple of votes for defensive player of the year in my book. He has been clutching a couple of these wins, sealing the games at the end. Ray Rack says
it's kind of dangerous when your older quarterback locks in. Like I've noticed that when that older quarterback like gets really locked in and they like just they forget that they're old. Mm-hmm. That's when they do this thing. It's like, oh, I'm throwing the field out now. It's like, oh no, Russ, don't do that. You late. Like you ain't got it like that no more. It gets picked off. Like it's like always when the older quarterback starts. Joe Flacco did this shit all the time. Where it's like, oh, he's cooking. He's locked in. Oh my God, he threw what?
By the way, Ray Rag, you threw me on with the whole D Hop. Every time I hear D Hop for the kick, I'm thinking about the actual D Hop.
I was gonna say who the hell calls fucking Dustin Hopkins D Hop?
I think the Browns fans call him D Hop.
They started ironically, but now it just happens.
Okay. Yeah. So D Hop needs to go. Don't care if he kicks well next year. He's absolutely awful. He makes it so you might as well go for 2 and every 4th down in field goal range, no matter what.
Yeah, I mean, I'd have no commitment to kickers, dog. Like, somebody kicks well out the USFL, dog. I'm taking them. What you mean? Like, bring in the competition. I'm not drafting none of them either. Like, you just gonna go free agent, sign 8 of them. Fuck it. Like, just have them kick it off. Like, do it tournament style. Like, put the pressure on them. I would do that. I'll just make it like the Hunger Games. 8 kickers to start the season. 1 kicker remains. Who got it? Who got the pressure, right? Like, I'll just do it every year. I'll hire somebody to host the show. Pat McAfee be good for that, right? And then, go ahead and do
that's
that.
What we need. That's what we need more of is more Pat McAfee right now. Jesus Christ.
Yeah, Pat McAfee and Jameis Winston present The Last Kicker Standing. It's the best show to watch on mute.
Jesus Christ.
Maybe Nation here's the PQ talks Mac with the King, like Earl got owned, and then Jameer Sanders has two-thirds odd. The secondary was also out. Huge.
Yeah, it was.
2/3 of the off the secondary. Okay. And then last one, D188 says, despite the 2 losses, we've seen that Calvin Austin can make more plays when given more opportunity. When picking his bag, we gotta open it up more.
Yeah, hopefully they keep feeding him.
Okay.
We'll roll through the last couple here and get our picks in real quick.
I don't know how much you want to talk about this Browns Dolphins.
Yeah, let's just pick the Dolphins and move on, bro.
Yeah,
I'll pick the Browns.
You pick the Browns? That's evil, dog. Why? What? Who benefits from this?
The Dolphins fans that don't like me on Twitter. That's fine. I'll pick it just purely out of spite.
The Bengals will benefit for the Browns winning for sure.
And also on top of that, I need the Bengals to make the playoffs and not Denver, just because I don't want to hear Broncos fans.
You want the Bengals over? My
God! We want Bronco fans to shut up. Why? Look, nothing shut you up like getting your ass beat in the first round. Look, I know this. I've lived that. Look, the vibes went from the Browns are amazing to they got their ass beat that 7th round, and now we won 3 games. Nothing shuts it down like that ass whooping in the first round. Hey, ask the CFP teams, right?
that year that Mac Jones and the Patriots went to the playoffs and then just got beat by 50 by Buffalo. Yeah, okay.
Yeah. If you want a fluke to die, let that team make the playoffs and play something real in the first round.
That's a good point. That's a good point.
Kirk Cignetti, that's over with now, right? Like all the we love Kirk Cignetti stuff. Yeah, okay. You played Notre Dame and they smacked you, dog. What? SMU? You ain't gonna hear about them next year, dog.
No, you will not.
That's over with.
The Broncos are scheduled right now to play the Buffalo Bills in the first.
Yeah, it'd be over with quick. Okay.
Josh Allen or Bo Nix? I wonder who I'm gonna take there.
Yeah, man. DeMar Hamlin gonna get an interception, and that's gonna be leading on Sports Center. It's gonna be crazy, dog.
Okay, well, let's then transition to the Chiefs.
Steelers.
That's the first game of Christmas. Jared, what do you think about the game?
Let me get mine because I got to pee.
Go Q.
Go Q. You can do both games, Q. You can do both games because I know you have to go.
Steelers. What's the Ravens game?
The Ravens and Texans. That's afterwards.
Yeah, I got the Ravens in that one. I just don't think the Texans are super serious against serious teams. But if the Ravens don't, again, my thing with CJ Stroud, if you pressure him, you could do something with it. But if you let him see and he throws it, that's crazy. So he starts.
Please God, let Deontay Johnson play in that game and have 8 for $150 and 2 scores. That would be great.
Deontay Johnson on the Texans now?
Yeah, they claimed him today.
They claimed him today.
That last dog. They got Stephon Diggs and him in there. Yeah, that's fun.
Well, Steph has a torn ACL as well, so they really just needed somebody.
They just needed somebody the vibes. You know what I mean?
That's like the team. He's like the team of Stephon Diggs. So
he's like, all right, let's get somebody to ruin the vibes now that Stephon's not here, right? I got the Ravens in that one. This Chiefs Steelers game, I'll be brief here. This is gonna be close because the Steelers and Chiefs definitely this smells like a super close game, right? But it's gonna be about devil magic. The Steelers devil magic, the Kansas City devil magic, and we have found out that Kansas City plot armor is crazy, dog. Russ about to fumble or something like that, right? Like Najee about to fumble that ball, have it pop loose. Something's going to happen, but this is going to be a real close game. George Pickens is going to be back. I think this is going to be one of the most entertaining games of the week. I think Pittsburgh will be really close, and I think this will get Pittsburgh fans' confidence back up after a rough couple of weeks here. Maybe I don't know. I don't see a team only losing one game in it. I'll pick Pittsburgh. Yeah, I'll pick Pittsburgh. We'll see. We got Pittsburgh going in this one, right? but because I just don't believe that finishing with a 1-loss record is a real thing. That just doesn't happen. You get 2 losses or you get 3 losses like a real football team. So I got Pittsburgh here because I like the kicker better than Harrison Butker. Yeah. So yeah, fuck Butker. Let's go Steelers this week.
I'm also picking Pittsburgh in that game. I think that they're getting healthier. Like I said, Pickens and Elliott are probably going to play, so that helps out on both ends of the field. And yeah, I also subscribe to the record thing. Like, I just don't think the Chiefs are going to go 16-1. Like, eventually you're going to lose again. I think that Pittsburgh, they're always going to play teams, for the most part, relatively close. Obviously, the last 2 weeks they've been dealing with a lot of injuries on both sides. But getting both those Pickens, Elliott, hopefully Dante Jackson back as well. We'll see with Joey Porter. I don't know if he's going to play or not, but it looks like the aforementioned 3 are expected to be back. And then, yeah, Chris Jones might also not play for the Chiefs. He had an injury against Houston on Saturday, so we'll see his status for the game. But, yeah, I think Pittsburgh wins.
The team that killed you here was where the Chiefs won the Buffalo, not that I was expecting the Patriots to be the Bills, but how the Patriots started. If the Bills lose that game, now the Chiefs are like, okay, well, we can get people healthy, right? I really think the Chiefs won that first round bye in that home field advantage, especially against, they think it's going to be Buffalo at the end with them. So their hope is if we win against Pittsburgh, they lock it. They lock their first 1 seed, and now not only they have a mini bye going to the last week, they can play their starters halfway through that game and bail if.
Well, and also for the Bengals, like if you're a Bengals fan, you want Pittsburgh to win that way. Denver or Kansas City has a reason to play their people in Week 18 and want to beat Denver. So I mean, you get there's a lot of stuff riding on this one game for a lot of different teams.
Yeah, no, for sure, I agree. Look, the thing here is the Kansas City Chiefs receivers, although not great. If with Joey Porter out, even you know what I think about Joey Porter. Depending on the reps, he can be really good or he can be a liability depending on the reps they're there that particular day. But what I'm looking here is there's a lot of speed that the Kansas City Chiefs would give you, right? Now Hollywood Brown is there. Xavier Worthy was balling last week. They still had D-Hop for that more position receiver type of deal, and they still have Travis Kelce. This is where the Steelers win. If they're going to win, that Chiefs O-line, not great this year. They have not been great, especially the edges. The edges, especially the left side, has been atrocious. This should be a Highsmith type of game. Highsmith needs to come and eat. If somehow we're looking here, Pat Mahomes barely getting sacked, you guys are done. You guys are getting cooked. If Pat Mahomes is getting hit, remember, he still has that ankle injury. He had that ankle severely taped. If Highsmith, TJ Watt, Herbig, any of these guys is getting to Pat Mahomes and hitting him, even if it's not sacks, getting him uncomfortable, then I actually think the Steelers win. I think that second is Pacheco cannot be running here like Henry did against you guys. If Pacheco has a strong game again like Henry had, it's another way the Steelers can lose. The pass for the Steelers is pressure Pat Mahomes. Again, this O-line for the Kansas City Chiefs has not been great. And then no turnovers for the Steelers. Play the possession game if you need to, right? It's not like the Bengals. It's not like the Chiefs have been here an offensive juggernaut, killing it everywhere, right? They're being opportunistic. So what you cannot have is Russ throwing a pick six or somebody getting a fumble, right? What you need to have is more of a clean game in the case of the Steelers, more of a complete game. And no allowing of the running for Pacheco cannot be here running all over them. And, the O-line. The O-line is key. The O-line for both sides, but especially for the Cincinnati Chiefs, the Kansas City Chiefs. And the Kansas City Chiefs here are protecting Pat Mahomes well, then it's going to be hard for the Steelers to win. Ace, what do you think, man?
Yeah, I think for me in this one, it's going to come down to George Pickens playing in this game. I think he's going to be the X factor. I think that this is the team that I've seen kind of on the schedule that could beat the Chiefs. I think that they have the defense to do it. I think that they have the grittiness to do it. I think that they have the offense to do it. I think Mike Tomlin's going to get them ready for this game. I think the biggest factor as well in them winning this game is the fact that they just lost to the Ravens, right? So they have extra motivation to try to win this one. They want to prove to themselves that they can conquer the North, and that's going to go through Kansas City. And then they also want to show that they can beat a team like Kansas City to build on to that confidence that they have. Kansas City is a team that's let teams kind of stay in the games this season, and I think if they do that against the Pittsburgh Steelers, they're going to lose this game. So I'm going to take Pittsburgh in this one. When it comes to the Texans and the Ravens game, I think for me, watching that last Texans game, as soon as they lost the receiver there. I don't know why his name is escaping me right now.
Tank Dell.
Yeah, as soon as they lost Tank Dell, I could just tell that mentally that team kind of checked out a little bit, after losing them. CJ Stroud was emotional, and I just was like, there's no way that they're going to come back and win against the Chiefs in that one. They're going to have to do that against this Baltimore team, and I think right now Baltimore's catching them at the right time because I think at the beginning of the season, this Texans team looked like they could be a potential Super Bowl contender just on paper when you saw that they got Tank Dell, Stephon Diggs, they added Joe Mixon, they added some guys on defense. And for a while, they kind of lived up to it a little bit. They weren't winning. They were winning. They weren't winning, impressively at first. But it just seemed like once they lost Stephon Diggs, now you talk about Tank Dell going down with Nico Collins coming back. I just don't think that they have the firepower right now to stick with Baltimore. And so, especially in Baltimore took them out last year in the playoffs, I don't think that they just have the weapons now to kind of deal with Baltimore in that offense. And I don't know if they can stop Derrick Henry on the ground. So as much as I would like for the Texans to win, I just can't see it happening against this Ravens team that has its eyes as well on the AFC North Championship. So I'm going to take the Ravens in this one. I think that the Texans may make it interesting, but I think at the end of the day, I think you're going to get more points from Zay Flowers, Derrick Henry, and Mark Andrews than you will just from Nico Collins and Joe Mixon.
Okay, so Jared, what do you think about the Ravens game?
Yeah, I mean, I would like to pick Houston, and I think that we're going to see somewhat of a similar game to what we saw in the wild card last year, where CJ Stroud has Nico Collins and fill in name of receiver here. And if the Ravens can key in on that, obviously the defense for Baltimore isn't nearly as good as it was at that time last year. So I think that Houston can make it a little bit more interesting. But if I had to lean one way, I'd still lean Baltimore just because of the fact that there's just a lack of firepower for Houston right now on offense. So I'll lean Baltimore here. But obviously would love to see Houston get a win.
This is the one thing also I will comment to the Steelers. The narrative here with the Steelers, so you have to be careful. I'm sorry that I'm jumping back, is if the Steelers happen to lose this game, it's not only the division, right? Now you're in danger of also falling to sixth place, which, whatever, it will mean that you go back to Baltimore, right?
Versus, I was going to say, I think that either way, like if they fall, it'll be the 5 or 6 seed, which I'm comfortable with either way, honestly.
But I think Steelers fans, you take it whatever you think. I think you rather play Houston than Baltimore right now. I'm talking on playoffs, right? If you happen to fall into because 5-6 position, that number means nothing. It's who the opponent is, right? And I think, in my opinion, that you rather face Houston than the Ravens. For you to fall to 6, basically, you have to lose out, and the Chargers have to win out. If that happens, the Chargers flip to 5th, and you guys go 6th. Now, to this game. Look, it's never easy to go to somebody's stadium, right? Ravens are going to the Texans on a short week. So I think this is, how Thursday night usually favors the home team. This could be that type of thing. Christmas Day, that stadium probably is going to be insane. They're probably going to rally for Tank Dell. But the Ravens, they need to keep their eyes on the prize. If the Steelers happen to lose before them, that's going to give them an extra boost. I think if the Steelers happen to lose, I think they're coming in thinking, if we win, we're winning this division, right? If they lose, it's not that it's going to bring them down, but I feel like the other way, they're coming in with a little bit more oomph. Again, it's never easy to win on the other side, in a row on a short week. But I think the Ravens have the firepower. The Ravens are playing well. I think they can run the ball against this team. I think this is another game that you say to Henry, here, you're going to pick up the slack. You're going to run the ball a lot. And look, whatever, after this, we had 10 more days. 10 more days so you can recover, right? All 4 of these teams have 10 days actually more than 10 days. This is Wednesday. So you have a little extra mini bye. So I'm gonna have the Ravens, but I think it's gonna be a close game. I actually think it's gonna be a exciting game to watch. I think it's gonna be similar to the Chiefs game, which is the Texans. That type of close. I know the Chiefs ended up winning by what 8 or 9 points, but it felt close. Obviously, with Tank then leaving, that is a big hole. But again, Nico Collins, he can break your game. Joe Mixon, you need to make sure Joe Mixon's not running all over you. Warren had a couple good runs against his team, so that cannot happen when you face the Texans. You cannot get them confident. You need this. The Ravens don't have a Trey Henderson or elite pass rusher like T.J. Watt, Trey Henderson, or Myles Garrett, but as a unit, they have been really good to getting after the quarterback, putting pressure. You have to do it to CJ. You have faced him twice. Twice you've been able to get to CJ, and twice you have been able to beat them. I have the Ravens here until CJ can show me that he can break the pressure that the Ravens provide. I'll go with the Ravens. Okay, I think that's it, right? We got it. We got it all.
Think so.
So my guys, thank you here from all of us. Next week we're gonna be doing similar to today. We're gonna preview the previous week, and we're gonna recap. We're going to recap the previous week, and then we're going to preview that week that is coming up, which will be the last week of the season. So everybody, all the hosts, we've been working a lot. Twice a week, we're trying to make an entertaining show for you guys. We want to wish you all Merry Christmas, Happy Holidays. Hope you all have a hell of a time during this time with your family, friends, with whoever you're in. And then we'll be back here next week, and we'll be recapping all these games. So,
happy holidays.
Happy holidays, guys. Take it easy.
Guys.